It has come. No, I don't know where is my PowerPoint. Everything is a problem now. Shall we start? We're done. Yeah, tell me. We'll start. वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषन्नं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि। चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः। ओम नमः प्रणवार्ताय शुद्ध ज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशांताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम विश्वं पश्यति कार्यकारणतया स्वस्वामि संबंधतः शिष्याचार्यतया तथैव पितृपुत्राद्यात्मना भेदतः स्वप्ने जागृति वा य एष पुरुषो माया परिभ्रामितः तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये. So we just started on Sloka 8 last time when we met. Just to recollect a little bit, in the first 7 shlokas of Dakshinamurty Stotram, Shankaracharya established a few things. Of course, he established the Mahavakya, importance and the meaning and thing about Mahavakya. In the first 3 shlokas, the relationship between Jiva, Jagat and the Ishvara, which is a very important thing whenever we want to connect to larger ideas. This is very important. So that also he has done. And in every shloka, this is very interesting about Dakshinamurty Stotram, you would have noticed. In every shloka, he gives 1 or 2 examples. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam Bijasyandirivangro jagadidam, Nana Chitra Gadodarastitam Mahaprabha. So for everyone he gave an example. This is a certain style he has taken. He explained every concept with an example. He first explained the example and created the relationship between that and the deep concept that he was trying to establish. Of course, in every shloka also you will find the word Maya will come in most of it. So he established this central framework of Maya, which is very critical for Advaita Vedanta. So he had also established that concept of Maya. He also shared ideas in the context of other schools of thought. Deham pranam api indriyanyapi chalam buddhim cha shunyam vituhu stri balanta jaropamasthamiti branta brisham vadina. So the other schools of thought which try to establish who am I, who I am. So they were coming from different positions. That also, so all these he did in the first 7 shlokas. So pretty much the subject matter is dealt in the 7 shlokas. Shloka 8, 9, 10 is sort of a summary which reiterates that idea once again. And as Sureshvaracharya mentions in his Mansollasa, he says it is desirable to repeat. The subject matter is so deep. There is no harm in repeating it the second time. So it is welcome that at the expense of a little repetition, these things are, summarized once again. So that is what is happening in 8, 9 and 10. So we saw this shloka. Vishvam pashyati karya karanataya. So he says, how does this empirical world come into existence? Because his entire argument is from the first shloka itself is this is a virtual reality. If you have to use the computer terminology, it is a virtual reality. It's not really reality, it's a virtual reality. Then the question is, how did it come? So for that he brings this Karya Karana framework. If only you will bring Karya and Karana, the world of names and forms can ever come. Otherwise it can never come. As I was telling in the last class, destroy the whole world of all buildings, everything, then the notion of space is not recognized at all. Space can be recognized only when you create an interruption. If there was no interruption, the notion of space is an idea. Nobody knows what it means. You demolish all these, we don't know, it is just open place. Moment you create, in other words, the space is a karana, classroom is a karya. You put some partitions in a particular fashion, you create a kitchen, you create a dining hall, you create a classroom. So in this limited example, the karana is akasha, the karya is the world of names and forms. Gold is a karana. Moment you try to get the karya out of it, then it will become stud, it will become bangle, it will become necklace, all will come. Clay is a karana. Moment you do something about it, you get a flower vase, you get a teacup, you get a nice horse which is done on a terracotta and so on. That is what he is saying. He is saying the world that we see and the world in which we do vyavahara, which we are, please understand that is happening because we have brought this framework. Because we brought this framework, the empirical world popped up. Otherwise, the empirical world, for a true jnani who has shed everything, for him the world actually may not exist. We may see it, he may not see it, he or she may not see it. Why? Because the Karya Karana framework is destroyed in the mind. So he says, Vishwam Pashyati. We are seeing the world as real. Why? Because Karya Karanataya. We brought this framework of Karya and Karana. And moment you brought, in fact, Jagat is the Karya. Ishvara is the Karana. It starts from that level. At every level you can talk. Jagat is the Karya of a Karana. Satyam, in Taittiriya Upanishad we saw, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Then how he become, Akashat, Vayuhu, Vayor, Agnihi, Agnerapah, Abhya Prithivi, Prithivyam, Oshadayah, Oshadibhyonnam, Annat Purushah. So that is the Karana which is becoming Karya, which is the universe. So that is the defining framework. As long as that framework makes meaning to us, as long as we use that framework as the framework for us to exist, then the world will appear. That is what he is saying. And moment you bring that, then you are bringing Veda. From the non-duality, you are bringing multiplicity. That is what happens. That's why he said to destroy every building, then it is all non-dual. Space and space alone. Moment you bring Karana and Karya out of Karana, then Vedas, the world of differences, have to happen. And he is giving a few examples. Swami Sambandha. This is mine, I am the possessor. So the sense of agency, sense of entitlement, all these are very transient, actually speaking. The sense of agency and sense of entitlement and endowment is a very transient idea, but we take it very real. Big battles are fought on it. Our moods are adjusted on that basis. It is actually a transitory idea. Because Satyam, in our definition, is that which existed yesterday, which is existing today, and which will exist tomorrow. So anything which does not fit into the framework cannot be Satyam. So possession cannot be Satya. Respect cannot be Satya. My respect in the society, the respect I command, none of them can be Satya. Because, they keep changing. So all that Swa and Swami Sambandhataha, these are all coming because I start seeing I versus mine. Swa and Swami. From that, everything will come. Sishya and Acharya. Then you see the division of a teacher and a student. Because now you are seeing. Now you have to see all variety now. Everything has to happen. So Sishya and Acharya. Pitru Putradi Atmana. So Putra Adi. So like father and children, all that will also come in. Vedataha, everything will come. So he says, Swapne Jagrati va yayesha Purusha. So this Swapna and Jagrati is also another kind of transitory reality which we are going through. So he says all these. So this Purusha actually transcends through all these multiple things which appear to be reality. And they appear to be reality because this Karya and Karana and all these framework are supplied by Maya. Maya Paribramitaha. So this Maya is the defining force which sets all these frameworks and sets us into the play. The Maya is that puppeteer and we are the puppets. So it starts doing this, then we start jumping up and down. It's like in a puppet show. A child does not know because the thread is, so thin. A child which sees or, whoever sees the puppet show for the first time, he may take the dancing of the dolls to be very real. We have not seen through the game. So life is like that. No, the puppeteer is the Maya. And the thread is the Karya Karana. And through that you create all these shows. So that is what he says. That Purusha who is Paribramita, he is none other than Dakshinamurti himself. So salutations is what he is saying. He is saying to him, that person who sees all these differences, meaning a person who is able to see through all these differences and say, while these differences exist, I don't give too much of importance. It doesn't matter to me too much. I am able to reconcile with the differences and see through the substratum. Somebody who is able to do it, he is Sakshat Dakshinamurti. To him, so that is what this sloka is. So in Mansollasa, Sureshvaracharya's Mansollasa, in this chapter he has actually spoken about Maya, because Maya is true to the term. We don't know what Maya is. That is as Maya as the word Maya itself. It's a very, illusory and evading kind of a concept, so he has dealt that in some detail in this chapter. So I have picked up a few shlokas which may be useful to us to understand. So first of all, he says, Pitaram prati putro yaha, putram prati pitaiva saha. I am the son for my father. I am the father for my daughter. So, so who am I is a very tough question, so to speak, honestly speaking. In the context, it changes. He says, Pitaram prati. When you look at it from the perspective of the father, I am the son. The same person, yaha, putram prati pitaiva, saha. So he says, this person, he keeps changing. In the context, he keeps changing. That is what it is. Eka eva hi, naneva. So the one manifests in many forms. Eka eva hi naneva kalpyate. Shabdamatratah. These are tags which we are using for a context. They are not two different personalities. It is a certain tag which we use. He becomes friend, he becomes boss, he becomes subordinate, he becomes the person who is hated, he becomes the person who is liked the most. Everything is the same. So Shabda Matra, Matratah Kalpyate. All these are coming out of the world of vocabulary that we have created. Now, where is this world of vocabulary? The world of vocabulary is in the mind. Vocabulary, world of experience, world of reality, the world of everything that we claim is only in the mind. There is nowhere else. If you remove the mind, all of them will go. So-called mind, if you remove, all of them will go. So he says, Tasmat prakasha eva asti paramarthi nirupine Beda pratitihi mityeva mayaya atmani kalpita. So he says, therefore he says, this effulgence, that satyam jnanam, that that spurana, that spark, which every one of us are having that spark. He says that spark alone is the paramartha. The rest are all lots of these tags that we have created. The Veda Pratiti, all that perception which has come out of the Veda, they are all mithya. Why mithya? Because I am a father, I have to be father forever. Then I become a son also. Then I become a grandson also. So it keeps on changing. It is not a single state. It is only an avastha. We saw that avastha in the previous sloka. This is only an avastha. It's a state of existence for a certain period of time. So all these are the vocabulary of the mind. It is mind's vocabulary. Son, father, I like him, I don't like him, this is good, this is not good, this is mine, somebody has taken mine. This whole gamut of our experience is all manufactured in the mind, and that is what is the world of experience that we are going through, and that manufacturing process is enabled by Maya. So that's what he says. This is the defining framework which creates this world that we are in. So as long as it is making sense to us, we have to use it in a particular way. So according to him, the confusion of plurality that all of us live is, we are living in the mind. He says notion of multiplicity or plurality is in the mind. It is not outside of the mind, it is in the mind. This whole framework is in the mind. And therefore, when people talk of liberation or attainments of perfection, essentially what we are saying is, it is a certain condition to be experienced by the mind in which all these frameworks are pushed out. So the mind ceases to exist. The notion of mind is only when all these happens. When these things don't happen, the mind does not exist. That's why in Sushupti the mind is not there. Because none of these happen in Sushupti. So the mind is also not there. Mind is sankalpa vikalpamanam manaha. Is constantly creating these differences, seeing the differences, creating a certain, projecting something, seeing that it is different. This is the job, and that property is called mind. Mind is not a matter. Mind is not a physical matter. It is a certain attribute. So that's why he says, mind alone is in. So what is in bondage? Nothing is in bondage. This notion of mind is in bondage. So the liberation is only for the mind, not for the person. The liberation is only for the mind, because it is the mind which is actually creating the world. And that is supported and enabled by the framework called Maya. So he says, Mithyatvam nama badhyatvam samyak jnana udaye sati. When the samyak jnana arises, when this clear knowledge arises, all mithya has to be dispelled. It will have to happen. See, when the sun rises, the andhakara has to go. There is no way the darkness can say, I want to see sun today. Or no way sun can say, can I see darkness for half an hour? It's not going to happen. When jnana arises, that heralds the dispelling of the myth. They are completely mutually exclusive. They can never coexist. Sishyacharya padeshadi swa pravat pratibhasate. Swapnavat pratibhasate. So all of them disappear like swapna. So all these empirical world, these connections and all that will exist. That will continue to exist until the Samyak Jnana comes. Once the Samyak Jnana comes, all these will disappear. As much as saying, once the sun comes, darkness will go. You cannot talk of an intermediary, let us have a little bit of darkness and a little bit of sun. That means sun has not come. That is the meaning. If sun has come, the darkness has to go. So all these Sishya, Acharya, these Pada, the Veda, the eighth Sloka Vedas, all will go for that person who has removed this framework from the mind. So the mind is now in a different kind of a thing. Mithya bhutopi, then he says, if everything is all will disappear, then the question asked is, then why are you keeping all these Veda and all that? They all has to go. Everything has to go into the drain now. Shishya will go, Acharya will go, that means Upadesha has to go now. If Shishya and Acharya has to go, Upadesha has to go. Upadesha has to go, all texts must go, everything must go. So that is a reasonable question. So that he is answering with the next shloka which he has. He says, Mithya bhutaha. Actually speaking, when the true realization comes, all these become immaterial. In that sense, they are all mithya only. They are all not required to just disappear. Right? It's not required. Although it is like that. Vedanta satyamartam prabodhet. So you are keeping it because it as long as it is able to inform you, it is able to give you the nuances of it, it has some use. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa in his gospel says that when you start climbing the stair, as you climb every stair, you have no idea where are we getting. What is this reality we are getting into? Moment you have climbed all the stair and gone up and you have seen it, then all these speculations and all these are out of your mind. Now, second time when you climb the stair, you don't have that. You have climbed once. So you know what you are climbing. Second time when you climb, In that time, this notion of the steps, the meaning of it, the relevance of it are all not in your reference frame. They're all over. But for the first time, you need all of them. That every step is a step that we need to. So it will serve only that purpose. It has only that limited purpose. Devata Pratibha, he says it only not only for that. The idol that we worship, the God that we have, the Upasana that we do, are all for that pinnacle of the Bhakti. Once we go that, many of these will melt because that Aikya will happen. But he says, as much as you have symbols, you have God, Pratima, Murti, right? And Chitra, photo we keep. They do meditation with a lamp lit. They put a Om on the wall and do meditation. They are all required because it is helping us in that process. For a person who has realized all these, he may not need. It's not required. So until then, it serves the purpose. So he says, all of them will be mithya. You cannot say no. Once you go there is no reason to talk about mithya also. So we are all talking all these definitions in one way or the other. For a person who has gone to the other side, the definitions are also not required. The conversation is not required. Again, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says that as long as until the bee is sitting on the flower, until then it will make noise. The wasp wee sound will come. He says, moment it sits on the flower, the sound is over because it starts consuming the honey. The sound will disappear. So like that he says, all these are required until then. What he is saying in these shlokas. He says, Tabihi karoti tabi. In the previous shloka, he talks about Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, the three states of existence. So the Tabihi relates to that. Tabihi karoti karmani. Punastaihi badhyate manaha. Manasaha kevala sakshi. Bhanuvat purusha paraha. He says, the mind in Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti does different things. In Sushupti, it is resting. It is doing nothing. Right? And by the very same mind, this Vyakti is bound. That's why Krishna says, Uddaret Atmana Atmanam, Na Atmanam Avasade. It is the mind which will, either allow you to sprout or allow you to be conditioned, allow you to feel miserable, allow you to feel happy. So it does all the work. It also sort of controls in many ways. That's what it plays. But for all these activities of manas that is happening, there is one witness to this. That's why these changes are all visible to us. If the witness is not there, the changes, if we are part of the change, we'll never see the change. So there is a sakshi. So we say manasakshi. We say manasakshi, we use the word. So that sakshi is there, bhanuvat. It says it is that prakasha, like the sun. That is the witnesser. And all these are being witnessed. And the player is the manas. And there is a witness which is there. That's what he says. Yata pranikritayir arkah. He gives an example. Yata pranikritayhi arkah karmabihi naiva badhyate. Right? Tata manakritayhi atma sakshitvat naiva badhyate. He says, sun is only a witness. See, what is a witness? Look at the very word, definition of the word witness. Witness means I am not involved in the process. Only then I can become a witness. If I get engaged into the process, there is some fight going on. There is some kolahala going on. When can I be a witness? I can stand on corner and see. Moment I join the shouting, I am no longer a witness. I am a party. So the word witness has a meaning. Word witness means the events I may see, but it will not affect me. It is not affecting me. That is the meaning of the word witness. So he says, under the sun, we use the word in common parlance. Everything happens under the sun. Everything happening under the sun. We use a word like that. Everything happening under the sun. What does it mean? The sun is a sakshi, but it doesn't get affected.
Like camera.
Like a camera. It is just seeing, it is just capturing all the, it is not part of it. So he says, Yata pranikritehi, whatever this Jiva Rashi is doing, all that karma bihi, the actions are not affecting the sun by it. It is just a mute witness to the whole thing. In the same way, tata, in the same way, manaha kritaihi, whatever this mind, the so-called mind is engaging in all kinds of things, that like a sakshi, the Atma is seeing. It doesn't affect it. It doesn't affect it. So if I say I get affected, that means the shloka, what is it saying? The Purusha is not getting affected. The Kshetra Jna is not affected. If I have to use Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, Kshetra Jna is not affected. The affected part is also part of the Kshetra. It is part of the changing. That's why what is getting affected differently tomorrow and keeps on changing also. You are only seeing the change. Because you are unchanged, you are seeing that change happening. So they say the Purusha is a Sakshi, and that Purusha is like a Prakasha. It is common to everyone. Because of these names and differences, it takes its own names and forms and shapes. And he gives, immediately for that, he gives the Mundaka Upanishad, beautiful shloka in the third Kanda, third Mundaka, the first chapter's first shloka. He has put it differently here. He says, Dva suparnau cha sayujau avabhavan mayaya shivaha ajam ekam jushan ekaha naneva asid iti shrutihi. He quotes directly the Mundaka Upanishad. So instead of explaining this, I'll go to the Mundaka Upanishad, that shloka, because it's a beautiful first two shlokas in chapter 3. The third Kanda of Mundaka Upanishad starts with that. Same shloka. So instead of explaining this, let me go to Mundaka Upanishad and we'll see it there only. It says, Dvau suparnau sayujau sakayo samanam vriksham parishasvajate tayoho anyaha pippalam swadu atti. All these are in Sandhi. So I am just doing the Padacheda. Swadu atti anashnan. Atti plus anashnan becomes atti anashnan. Yan Sandhi is there. Okay. Swadu atti anashnan anyaha abhichakashiti. So the first shloka says, Dvau suparnau. Suparna is this bird, this royal eagle can be a suparna, So there are two birds, Dvau, suparnau. Sayujo, similar, identical. Sakayo, very friendly, very close to each other. So it is presenting a nice picture now. It says there are two birds, identical birds. They are very close to each other. Physical proximity is also there perhaps. That's what it means. They are very close to each other. Samanam vriksham, in the same tree. In the same tree they are sitting. Parishasva jate. They are sitting and perching on the same tree. That is the first line. Now there is, although both the birds are same, identical, tree is the same, there is a difference. That's what the second line says. Tayoho, between the two, Anyaha, one amongst the two, okay? Tayoho Anyaha, one amongst the two, Pippalam, the fruit, Swadu Pippalam, it's a nice fruit. Atti is kadati. Dhatu atti is kadati. So, one bird starts eating the fruit. The tree has some fruits. One bird starts eating the fruit. Anashnan, na ashnati iti anashnan, without eating. Anyaha, the other one is not eating. The other one is just sitting, abhichakashiti. It is just seeing. It is a witness. One is a witness, the other is engaged into the act. See, it's like this. There's a big fight going on. Some street fight, Galata is going on. Two of us are going. Just imagine this possibility. Two of us are going. There's a big fight going on. Both of us are standing like this. Between the two, I get very active. I get engaged. I feel, I think this has to be sorted out. And I take side of the one side. Because I think they are right. That is all is required. That step is only required. Once you get in there, you may also get a blow. Anything can happen. I have no idea what will happen. So think about these two persons. One person says he'll just sit, he will not get into the act. The another person says, I will get into the act. Now the question is, what will happen to the first person and the second person? This is a question. No, for the first person, nothing will happen. He is only a sakshi. Nothing will happen in the sense, he will be witnessing. He will be seeing the whole thing. It is going one way or the other. Sometimes this party's hand is going up, maybe the other party. He is doesn't want to get engaged. He is just seeing. But think about the other person. The other person is now already, he has actually boarded a roller coaster now. Please understand that what happened to the other person. He has actually boarded a roller coaster. Sometimes he will go up. Sometimes he will come down. It all depends on to which party he belonged and what is happening to that party in terms of this fight going on. Our life is like that. That's what the Sloka is saying. Our life is like that. There are two entities in us. One is called Purusha, another is called Prakriti. Both of them came together. But the Purusha decided, I will not get engaged. Prakriti said, let me get engaged. Let me get into the act. So that is what the first Sloka is saying. Now the second Sloka says, what will happen? Second Sloka says, what will happen if you allow that Prakriti to go? So it says, Samane vrikshe Purusho nimagnaha. That fellow who is involved, nimagnaha. One who is immersed into the act. In other words, let us talk the tree. It first tasted a fruit. So it thought, oh, fruit is very good. Then it jumped into the other one. Now the second fruit was not good. It was a little sour. Then it gets into the third fruit. So after about 20 fruits, it will understand the wisdom of eating. That is what will happen finally. It will understand I would have been better off because, I am now going through a pair of opposite now. I am so tuned to the good thing. When the bad thing comes, I am not able to take it. I can get into that problem. That is what the second line Sloka is saying. He is saying, Samane vrikshe purushaha nimagnaha anishaya. He lost control. He couldn't. That person who got into the act, he thought everything is under his control. After some time, he realized things are not under his control. There are too many variables coming into the way. Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. It says, I think I made a mistake. I should have, he was better off. He just stood by the ringside. I made a mistake of coming here. Mukhyamanaha is deluded. Jushtam yada pashyati. The other person is just there. Pashyati anyam. Then it understands, oh, the other fellow is the real Lord. Anyam isham mahimanam. This is actually the act of God. This person is an embodiment of God. He has understood that is what life is at the end of the day. You get involved Then that's why I always say Vedanta is the first one which taught us that buy one, take one free. Buy one, take one free is not the recent phenomenon. Vedanta said. It says Sukha Dukha Sama Dukha Sukha Sashtaha Sama Loštashma Kanchana Mana Apamanayos Tulya Mitrahara Pakshayo Sarvaramba Parityagi in chapter 14 Bhagavad Gita he says all that. World has all, both will be given to you. Don't ask only one. So you get into it, you better be ready for that. If you want to, you can stay away. So that is what it is saying. So the Sakshi, in Mundaka Upanishad terms, the Sakshi is the Purusha, which is the bird which is not eating. And the person who is engaged is the Prakriti. Prakriti and Maya are only two different terms of the same thing. So you decided to get into the framework, then you take everything that is given to you. That is what it is. So in other words, witnessing with a sense of spirit, neutrality, if you can do it, I am talking about our day-to-day life. I am not getting into spirituality. If we are able to develop that habit, witnessing with a sense of neutrality is a great progress in spirituality. It will come handy in a spiritual life. That is what it is. If you can develop a sense of neutrality with which you are able to witness things, because it's difficult, we will quickly get into it. We start shouting, we get engaged, we do it. Sometimes Vyavaharika requires us to do. I am saying developing that attitude and doing that is a great progress in spirituality. So that means we are going closer to the bird which is not eating. We are all the time moving away from the bird and then we are consuming all the time. Can we look back and then Rukma Varnam, all those, the next sloka it will come. There are some nice, third sloka is also good. I just took the first two shlokas. So there are a few shlokas on Maya, which there are about 15-20 shlokas. I took 5-6 of them. They are all interesting to little bit give us a sense of what is this Maya and all that. He says, Sarvopi Vyavaharaha Ayam Mayayaha Parijrimbanam. He says, why do we engage in the world of activity? We all engage in the world of activity. Why do we engage in the world of activity? He says, we engage in the world of activity because of Maya. Why? Because Maya, in Viveka Chudamani, the first definition of Maya is one which comes with three gunas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And if you have to engage in the world of activity, this color palette you need, RGB you need. You have to bring it so that the colors start coming out of it. A combination of Tamas, Sattva and Rajas. That's why in 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, at the end he says, Gunatito. You adjust the color palette, throw the color palette after some time. That's what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 14. But as long as you have the color palette, you will take any number between 0 to 256. In all the three digits, you will find a color. So 256 into 256 into 256 is the combination of colors you can get in computer. So here, the equivalent of that is the various things that we engage in. He says that is triggered by that called Maya. That is called Maya. So we are all part of the Maya, is what he says. Mayayaha parijrimbanam. All vyavahara that happens is reminding us of Maya. Actually. Sushupti sadrishi Maya swapna bodhane badhyate. So, you are in deep sleep. Moment you get out of the deep sleep, you have a consciousness of yourself, whatever is the level of consciousness. In deep sleep, you never had your consciousness. But when you woke up, you had your consciousness. In the same way that these activities, by way of activities, we actually energize and bring Maya into life. We actually recognize Maya. We don't think about it. We say whenever we are engaging in activities, Maya is acting. As much as from Sushupti when he came into this thing, it destroys that thing and brings a certain realization. In the same way it works is what he starts by saying. He says, Yuktihina prakashasya samjna mayeti katyate. He says, I'll tell you the first definition of Maya. First definition of Maya is, it is the prakasha that you get out of Maya is yuktihina. It is difficult to explain, it will be illogical. That's what he's saying. This is one way to understand Maya. Now, a simple understanding of this, when it's at a much higher level, we think about it very carefully. We do so many things in life. Ever since we are born until we breathe the last, we all know we are going to breathe the last. There is no rocket science. May not know when and all. That's a different issue. That which has a beginning will have an end. Krishna has said it. Now, if somebody takes it so objectively, you should not engage in anything. We are very much engaged in buying a plot, doing this, taking a position and thumping. This is my view. It has to be done this way. At one level, it is illogical for us to explain. We'll have to think, why are we doing it? Because we know that all of them are going to drop. At that plane, this is illogical. But we find so much logic in it. And that's why we are doing. There is so much logic in it. But if you raise it to a very high level of discussion, this will all become yukti-hina. That is an example. Many things that we do can become yukti-hina if you take it to the much higher level. Yet we see an yukti in it. There's a yukti visesha in it. That is Maya. That is another way to understand Maya. As long as we are in that plane, that means we are into the framework of Maya. And he says, na asat, means a Strilinga, nasati, nasati drishyamana. So this Maya is, it is neither real not unreal. You can't say either ways, he says. This is exactly, easiest way to explain this dream. Please tell me whether dream is real or not real. You can't say either ways. Because if you say it is unreal, then the first question you'll ask is, why did you get out of your dream when in the dream lion was chasing you? Or a policeman was chasing you in your dream? Then you get disturbed. And there is so much of sweat on the forehead. In sleep. It's part of the dream. So if you look at it, that looks like dream is real. But you'll also say dream is not real because neither a policeman nor anybody was chasing me. Dream is a nice existence with which you can explain that it is technically possible for something which can exist and not exist. Either ways you can't say. So that is called Maya. So many things that we do exist at a certain plane, but it does not exist. The example I gave is exactly of that example. At one plane it exists, at another plane it doesn't exist. So you can't say whether it exists or not exists. That's another way he defines Maya. That's how actually Maya manifests itself. Na prakashad iyam bhinna chayevarkasya tamasi na cha abhinna jatatvena virodhat virodhan, what is this? Virodhat virodhat ityukte virodhat nibhayatmika, it cannot come. Virodhat, yeah, nibhayatmika. I'll have to see what is this cheda here. Virodhat na. Sorry. Yeah, it's ubhayatmika. Virodhat na ubhayatmika. That is what it is. Virodhat. Ikara is coming there. It is actually ubhayatmika. I don't know why there is a ikara. Let me see. I am not able to resolve this. Yeah, there is a ikara is coming. In Sandhi, ukara cannot become ikara. I'll check. Maybe there is a typos or something. I don't know. Na cha abhinna jatatvena. I think I would have even typed it wrongly. Virodhan na, I think, not ni. I think I would have even typed it wrongly. Virodhat na ubhayatmika. I think that's the correct thing. And maybe my typos also. Virodhat na ubhayatmika. I'll explain. I think it is correct. Virodhat na ubhayatmika. He says, look at the shadow. He gives an example of shadow. Okay? And the light. Light and the shadow. He says shadow is not real. But shadow appears as real also because when I walk, the shadow also comes. When I walk, the shadow also comes along with me. Right? So, na prakashad iyam binna chaya. So, the light and the shadow can never be, in some sense, it cannot be separated at one level. But then the shadow is not real. Think about this. So there are many examples like this. He says, Na prakasha diyam binna chaya iva arkasya tamasi. The shadow, which is nothing but the tamasic part of the prakasha, which is manifested through the sun, is at one level it looks like it is not binna, because whenever I move, it is also moving. But then it is actually jatatva. There is no, existence. There is nothing like, you cannot separately take the shadow and then process something with that, get something out of it. Nothing is possible. So, it is exactly like that. It says, Nacha binna jatatvena, jatatvena virodhat. Because it is jatatva, you can't even say it doesn't exist because you are seeing it existing. That's what this shloka is saying. Because you are seeing it doesn't exist, because you are saying there is no material thing, you cannot even say it doesn't exist, because when you go, it is also coming with you. So it is like that. So there are many number. I gave an example of dream. Here is an example of the shadow and the object, which is coming out of the sun. So it is both ubhayatmika. Sometimes it looks like this, sometimes it looks like that. It is ubhayatmika. Now ubhayatmika, it is neither. Now ubhayatmika. You can't say this, you can't say that. It is all confusion. It is all, it presents it in that particular fashion. So that's what it says. It is now ubhayatmika. It is neither this nor that. But you can't also say, we don't know which way to say. This is a real challenge. He says, another example, doom, right? Doom, ambra, dhuli, niharaihi, right? Niharaihi, asprishtihi api divakaraha. So all these, yata sat na iva abhati. That is the padacheda. Yada sat iva na iva abhati. All these, what he is saying is, sun is there. Sun is covered by dhu. Dhu is dhuli, dust. Right? Then dhoom and then abra is water. Then dhuma is smoke, abra is water, dhuli is the dust, nihara is the cloud. One which consumes water. One which has consumed water is nihara actually. So he says when all these cover the sun, he is giving 4 examples like this, right? When all these are covers the sun, it looks as though sun is not there. Sun is there, but then for all practical purposes, sun is not there because it is just covered. Yata sat naiva abhati, as though it is not there. It gives an impression as though it is not there. Tataiva, in the same way, the Atma is covered by Maya, and then we more or less come to a conclusion the Atma, that Sakshi and Purusha, we don't know. It pops up sometimes and remains. Otherwise, we are not able to point and then show it is there. And that force which makes doing all that is called Maya. So the job of Maya is to prevent us seeing that Atman. Just as the smoke and the cloud and all these will cover the sun, and then you will say the sun is. All practical will say sun is not there. Sun is very much there. You are not seeing the sun. Our languages are all very bad. We say sun is not there. Ideally, we say sun is there. I am not able to see. But then we say sun is not there. Today there is no sun. That's the most wrong statement we are doing. But we are so much used to it. Today there is no sun. So the same way, this Maya says no Purusha. That's the job of Maya. This is another way he explains how Maya actually plays out. Samsrajya manasa devaha samsaranniva lakshyate. Okay? Yata arkaha jala samsargat chalat naneva lakshyate. So he says the arkaha, the sun, when it is reflecting on the water, when the water is shaking, right? The sun starts shaking. Much better example is, there is a much better example which will go very well. You take a mirror, sun is reflecting on a mirror, you break the mirror, you will get 20 suns now. Because there are 20 suns. Each one is reflecting. As though there are 20 suns. Sun is one. But the reflecting medium is camouflaging the reality and presents the reality differently. That is what it is happening. When the sun is, when the water is shaking, the sun is also shaking, the moon is also shaking. That's the example he gives. In the same way, he says that this reflecting medium is the manas. Manas is the reflecting medium in which when the Purusha reflects, right, the original is manifesting differently. We see it differently. That's what he says. Samsrijya manasa. So it reflects through the manas, equipment called manas. What? That Deva, that Brahman, that Sakshi is reflecting through a medium called mind. Because of that, you see it in many ways. Because you create 100 minds. Just like you break one mirror, get 20 mirrors, you can now see 20 suns. Sun is one, but you see 20 suns. The same way, the single that Brahman, which is the Sakshi, gets into a reflecting medium called mind, and then it shows as many. That's what he says. This is again how the Maya actually manifests. So there are many shlokas. I just picked a few of them just to give an idea that this whole idea of Maya, essentially the sum and substance of it is, there are many things which may appear illogical at an absolute plane, but may make eminent logic to us. That's why we are living our life. It may make a lot of logic to us. As long as that logic works to us, doesn't create a conflict in us, we are in the defining framework of Maya. Point number one. Point number two, anything which cannot be explained can be safely defined as Maya. Because I don't know whether dream is real or not real. I should say it is real, but it is not real. Or I should maybe start from the other side. I should say it is not real, but it is also real. Now I am reminded once Swami Dayananda Saraswati very nicely said. He said, in our ashram, we really give good food. Morning we give chapati and dal. Evening we give dal and chapati. So like that he said. He said, we give variety, don't worry. Morning we give chapati and dal, evening we give dal and chapati. So like that, you can say it is real and unreal, or you can say unreal and real. That's all you can say. This is another understanding of this whole parameter called Maya. But the most important point he's making is the framework of Maya will bring along with it the guna and ensure that out of the two bird will get into the act of eating the fruit. That is the job of Maya. Now, as long as we enjoy the fruit, we are all enjoying the fruit, we will continue to enjoy. But until when we find the fruit is not giving us enough sense of, See, there are three reasons why people will turn spiritual. One is anityatva. This is one reason. You will find finiteness. Man's quest is not for finiteness. I think our quest is ideally for infiniteness. But it takes a while for us to actually say that is our quest. So until then, finiteness will be very interesting and okay with us. One is finiteness. Another is dukkha janaka. After we go through it, we want something which is not dukkha janaka. This is the second. So these are the two very important reasons. As long as these two reasons are not bothering us, we will play in the framework of Maya. So the empirical world is real. Activities we will engage. Right? And all that will happen. So now if we ask, how do we get out of it? That is the process in which all these satsanga happen. So I am not saying, overnight that is going to happen. It is a process in which we will slowly in our own, it may take a few janmas also, it may take several hundred janmas also. We will have to be tired of eating the fruits. And one day we should look at the other bird. And that bird is nothing but bliss. Whereas my face changes every time I bite one fruit. It is either sour or whether it is sweet. So that ability to do that is when this will change, when the framework will be dropped. Let us not worry too much about that. Let us, understand where is the path and why all these are things which are leading us, because we should understand what are we doing first. Then we'll talk about which way we want to do is a different kind of a question. But we should understand what is the framework on which things are operating, because out of that it will lead us. in our own ways. That's where all these framework of Maya will come. So that is what he says. It is the mind which is full of vasanas. So this eating and eating and eating, the eating process must lead us to two things. First thing is we will become more careful in picking our fruits. That's the step one. When we start eating, you open a room, we say, oh, take your fruits. We'll first run and then pick up our fruits. To allow me to be here for longer time, then I will say, now let me find out how to pick the right fruit. Because I don't want to eat the bad fruits. So the journey starts like that. That's why the Satkarya, the Satsanga will start making us a little bit more discerning to what to do and what not to do. We don't want to do Nisheda. That's the first level of thing that will happen. Second level of thing that will happen is after some time we will be actually tired of eating. That may be a long drawn process. We may have to have several tons of fruits to consume before we come to that. But that will happen. It will say, no, I don't want to even eat. Is there something which I can do without eating? That will come to us when we eat too much of the same thing and we say, enough. Now let me find out, is there something else that we can do? So that wisdom comes only by these vasanas and the impressions which are getting modified over a period of time. The only vehicle for us to lead us out of this is the vasanas. So the vasanas is a function of what we do, and what we do is a function of what is our mental framework. What is our mental framework is a function of what is the context and the reference frame with which we equip ourselves. I mean, that is true of anything. If I get the right instruction manual, I operate it right. If I get the wrong instruction manual, I will continue to operate, but it may be wrong. So you get the right instruction manual, you develop a proficiency in operating the gadget, then that takes you to the desired thing. That is the path in which the vasanas gets modified. And so everything is in the mind, which is carried over lives, several lives, and that trajectory is there. All of us are in that trajectory. It's only a question of how fast and how slow and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. All of them will change. In this Janma, it is changing for us. Our ideas of life is changing as we grow. So that is the process that we are talking. The vasanas, the complexion of the vasanas will change. And that will help us one day to drop the framework. So that we are not worried too much about that at the moment. We want to understand the mechanics of where it is going so that we will start operating this gadget with a little more wisdom. I think that is the purpose of all these kind of things. I think we will stop here. It's already 7. 9 sloka we can take the next. We will stop here. Okay. Next week we don't have a class. I am again traveling. So we'll have the week after. Next week we don't have a class. Yeah, about 7-8 minutes it was. So you had come back. So Anaga, how are things? Huh?
Good, sir.
Yeah, it's how many weeks now? It's
Almost,
a month. Huh?
yeah.
More than a month, I think.
Yeah, almost 2 months.
Yeah. So how is it going? Good. Very good.